What's up, YouTube? It's Mr. Ferguson here once again. Thank you guys for coming back for another video here in Central North Carolina. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the support. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button if you're interested in DIY lawn care content this upcoming spring and summer. We're going to talk about, as you may have seen by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to talk about spring today and some of the do's, the don'ts. So it'll be a generic spring topic, so stay tuned. But subscribe to the channel if you're interested in lawn care tips. Talking about fertilizer, talking about pre-emergent, we're talking about post-emergent, talking about weeds in the lawn, and we'll be doing this throughout the growing season here. So subscribe to the channel if you're not. We would love to have you on board. As I always say in a lot of my videos, that I am just a DIY guy. I'm a do-it-yourself lawn care guy. I've not had any previous lawn care knowledge. I haven't worked for any lawn care companies, don't own one, don't work for anybody. I just enjoy trying on this journey for 3 years now, trying to have a green lawn. We've been pretty successful. And so I just vlog and do content about what I'm doing here in my lawn and let you guys see the results, whether it's a good things or bad things. So thank you so much for tuning in. So today, guys, I want to talk about spring. So I will probably make this type of video every single year. So for those that look in my content history, you're like, Mr. Ferguson, you made a video like that last year. You're right. And most of the time, the same information is true each and every year in regards to lawn care. But I want to talk about spring, and I want to talk about how basically in spring, a lot of people, including myself 3 years ago, said, hey, it's warm outside. Hey, it's like 70. Man, it's time to, I want to have a nice yard this year. They walk outside, they put their hands on their hips. Man, my lawn looks so terrible. I'm going to plant grass. And so I'm here to tell you that planting grass in the spring is not the time to do it in regards to a cool season fescue type lawn. We want to plant our fescue grass in the fall. Why do we want to do that, Mr. Ferguson? Why can't I do it in spring? Well, the answer quickly is because when we plant our grass, as we did here, our GCI turf, it's still kind of dormant. It's still asleep in the winter months. But as we begin to get in spring, this grass that we planted in the fall, it's been growing roots all late fall and winter. And so by the time spring comes, we get that boost in our soil temps and we get a boost in our grass, and it begins to really take off. And that's because we planted it back in the fall. If you're trying to go outside and plant your grass now in the spring, you're not giving your grass a whole lot of time to develop its root system before the really high heat begins to come upon the United States here. And because your grass is going to be under stress when it doesn't have good roots. So that's why we always want to plant in fall. It's not to say that you can't plant grass in the spring, because some people, I'm sure, go out there and they can be successful. But I did watch my neighbors before they moved next door. They had a soccer goal up. They wanted to plant some grass. It came in. It looked really nice. And then about 2 months later, it began to wither away because we hit the heat of North Carolina and all that grass began to die off. So that's why we want to plant our grass in the fall and not the spring. Now, if we have some areas we need to repair, sure, throw some seed down, throw some starter fert on it. It will probably come up for sure and grow. You're going to see grass grow. It's a matter of sustaining it, though, when that really high heat begins to come into our lawn. So that's why we always say spring is not the time to plant your yard. It's also not the time to be aerating either. Now, some folks will come and aerate in the fall and they'll aerate in the spring. Well, Mr. Ferguson, why don't you aerate in the spring? Well, there's one main reason, and we've been talking about it here on the channel. We've been talking about pre-emergent. As I put my camera down here, so I want to give my shoulder a little break here, but think about it. If we're putting down prodiamine, as we just did here on the channel, go check out the last couple videos. We've been talking about prodiamine and talking about how it lays that barrier to stop the weeds. If we come right back around with an aerator and aerate, well, we've just tore that entire barrier to pieces. And so that's why you don't want to really aerate in the spring. You want to do that in the fall. Now, if you're like, well, Mr. Ferguson, I didn't aerate in the fall and I haven't put down my prodiamine, then what do I do? Well, yeah, you may be able to run that aerator and then turn around and prodiamine, but remember, our pre-emergent wants to go by soil temperatures. And right now, if you're watching and you haven't put it down and you're in North Carolina, Virginia, right now is about the time you want to do your pre-emergent. Another big factor of spring. Not only that we should already have our grass planted, but now is the time to do pre-emergent. And we've talked about it again in several of the past videos. It is so important to get that prediamine down, to stop the weeds before they ever start growing in your lawn. It's one of the keys when you walk by some of these nicer lawns and you don't see different color grasses popping up and different weeds of different height. It's because of pre-emergent. Our soil temperatures tell us how to handle this. And again, we do split applications of prediamine. Check out the former videos of everything I'm telling you. 55-degree soil temperature in your location. You want to have your prediamine down, and then we come back when our soil temperatures begin to approach 70 and we want to do another application of prediamine there. That's how we handle our pre-emergent, and coming back over top of that with an aerator is a big no-no because we've just defeated the purpose. So the other thing when we talk about spring is mowing. And of course, you want to sharpen your blades. That is something huge because we can stress out our grass blades when we don't sharpen our blades. Now, some people like myself, I've bought a grinder, and I'll go in here and I'll take them off and I'll come up here on the steps and step on it and just give it a good sharp edge. Some people have a local place they can take them to sharpen them, but at least once a month, if not for sure once every 2 months, you want to sharpen your blades, because when we begin to get a dull blade, it will begin to shred our grass blades, and you'll see it. It's noticeably uneven cut. It's not a clean cut on our grass. It's shredding the blade, and that's damaging the plant. And so all you're doing is, yeah, you're cutting the grass, but you're harming the blade at the same time. Let's talk about mow of height, or height of mow, however you want to say it. For me, this is your yard and your grass. You've planted it in the fall or the spring. Hopefully you've planted it in the fall. And so to me, I have played around with the height of cut in the beginning of spring. Right now, today, I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It's about 50 degrees out here. The plant, as far as temperature, is not under stress. So play around with it. I know that, and you guys should know that tall fescue is to be cut between 3.5 inches and 4.5 inches. It's tall fescue. It's supposed to be left tall. That is what the plant desires, and that's the common cut that we need to have on it. However, when we're in months where it's not under stress and we're not having a lot of heat, it's still early spring, you can play around with the height of cut. If you like the way it looks lower, then you can cut it down to, 2.5, 3 inches and see if you like that. But as the temperature begins to rise and get warmer, we definitely want to go back to that standard 3.5 to 4 inches to make sure that it can survive the winter, survive the heat and sustain itself the longer, cutting it when we need to, but also making sure that we don't cut it too short and stressing it out even more when it's already got stress from the heat. The other thing we want to talk about is how we feed our lawn. Definitely, we've talked about that the last video on Friday. Here on the channel, I'm going to be trying a new type of fertilizer called Protein. It comes from GCI Turf Academy, GCIturf.com. You can see and read all about it. We've done a lot of yard mastery here in my yard, and I've been successful with yard mastery. We've done some of the store-bought brands of Stay Green, of Scott's, and different type of fertilizers that way. But you definitely want to feed your lawn. And again, as I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, when I first wanted to have a nice looking lawn, I came outside in the spring and was like, okay, what do I need to do? And that's when I began my journey of researching, hey, how do I make this happen? And I found out that you don't need to start in spring. You actually need to start in fall when we're talking about tall fescue. And so that's why I tell you, if you've missed the fall planting season, then I wouldn't waste your money unless you just want to throw some Scott's seed or something down for the temporary and see if it makes it. You can throw that down of your lawn, but take care of the lawn that you have now. This is exactly what I did in 2019 when I figured this out. I'm like, well, I'm going to take care of what I got. And I was so anxious for those, 8 months or so, or 7 months to get to the fall, to plant, to rent my aerator and plant GCI turf. But I learned a whole lot in those months that helped me be successful. And I'm successful today. Everybody walks by looking at the yard, commenting, hey man, your lawn looks great. And it's because of that time when I walked out in spring, I had months to prepare on what I was going to do when fall came. I figured out what type of aerator to use. I figured out what type of seed. There's some seed that have weeds already in them, but seeds like GCI Turf and others have no weed seeds in them. So I learned all of these things. And so if you're one that missed the fall planting season, don't stress out. You can buy bags of Milorganite. You can buy weed and feed, which if you miss pre-emergent and you've got weeds all over your lawn, weed and feed may be an option for you. There's some triple action from Scott's that is out there. There's tons of products of weed and feed that will not only only feed your lawn, make it turn green, but also it will handle some of those weeds in your lawn. It's a simple spreader type granular application. I used it in those first periods of my lawn, and then you can catch up and get on a lawn care plan come the fall time. I recommend the LCN, the Lawn Care Nuts plan, or GCI Turf. Two great guys. Two guys that really know about lawn care and know about how to make your lawn look good. But again, if you have not planted, haven't never used fertilizer or done anything to your lawn, just getting a weed and feed laid down to kill weeds, make your grass look greener, your yard is going to stand out better than others in your neighborhood, I guarantee it. It is still chilly out here. I know we're talking about spring, but hopefully we're going to get in the 60s next week. You know, the other big thing that we haven't mentioned yet is keep an eye out on Mr. Fungus. Remember, fungus likes to attack when seasonal changes begin to happen, and we're getting into that location or that time frame where we're going from cooler temperatures into warmer temperatures, and as that begins to happen, in the next many weeks, you start to see fungus in your yard. It's almost time to start having that thought. Also about insecticide. We don't want any bugs coming and invading. And so again, a lawn care plan keeps us on task of what comes next. So if you're new and you're like, how am I supposed to remember all of this? Again, visit Mr. Allen Hayne, the Lawn Care Nut. Visit Mr. GCI Turf. They have purchasable, downloadable PDF content for your computer, or you can print it out in paper. And it gives you a track of the dates and the times and the soil temperatures you need to be looking at to do certain tasks. There's also the biostimulants that can help enrich your soil. We need to be doing soil tests, which we will do here on the channel soon, making sure we see a little snapshot of what our soil is looking like right now. Remember, our pH needs to be in balance. That's a huge part of it. Also, you know, do we need a lot of nitrogen? How is our iron levels? You know, our potassium? So a soil test, definitely something else in the springtime that we want to do as well. So I hope this video has kind of got your wheels turning. There's a lot involved in lawn care other than just let me go out here, throw some seed down, throw some fert down, and hope it grows. I tried that method. It didn't work. And so there is a little effort that has to be done, but you can do it. And this is almost the time. Spring, again, if you've planted in the fall, it's time to start thinking about fertilizer, time to start thinking about that soil test, see where Mr. pH is. There's some lime that may need to be thrown down. So again, if you got comments, suggestions, those that always watch the channel, leave them down below for newbies. And if you're new and you're like, hey, what about this, what about that, ask your questions below. We got tons of guys from GCI Turf and others that have been doing lawn care for year after year. They can answer your question maybe better than I can sometime. So thank you so much for watching the channel today. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll keep talking about the spring items. Each of these we may break down into different videos. So stay tuned to the channel if you're interested. Again, subscribe if you're interested, share it if you know somebody that's got a new home and looking at, hey, how do I get a lawn started? I have no idea, and they don't want to go to a company and pay thousands of dollars and not knowing, you know, whether they're getting a deal or not. Hey, you may be able to just do this on your own, as I did. I had True Green come by and I actually told him no, and I've got the best looking lawn in my neighborhood because I did it myself and I learned how to do it properly. So thank you guys for watching. Again, I'll shut up there. God bless you. We'll see you on the next lawn care video.